Dun, 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 dun. Hey, it's like playing
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live for week 2, the second review show here in the WRL. It's myself, Jade Burr, Jade Feathers, owner of the WRL. With me, as always, is the VP of the Bush Series, Mike Senior.
Hey, how you doing, buddy?
Good man, good man. You ready to welcome our special guest in for the second show?
Oh, of course. I mean, we got to love this. It's not just the fact of he's not just even a special guest. He's actually a driver for us, and in this series, in all of our series, and that's even better.
Absolutely. So, with that being said, our special guest this week and driver in the WRL, he drives the 16 machine for Fatal Motorsports, my team in the Bush Series, William Moore. Will, how you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Good. Good, good. It's good.
So, Will, just so everybody knows, I mean, you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself? I mean, not only do you obviously you are a driver, in this series in our league. What else do you do, buddy? What do you do for a job?
So I am the rear suspension and underneath tech for RSS Racing or Ryan Sieg Racing in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Basically, I hang rear suspension, put the housings in, put the gears in, put the transmissions, drive shafts, bottom of the motor. I do fuel cells from time to time. I pretty much do just everybody here does just about everything except if you're an interior guy, you do your interior. But other than that, we pretty much all do a little bit of everything since we're such a small team. There's only 3 full-time mechanics here, plus Cowboy, our crew chief, that helps put the cars together. He puts a motor in when we're just that swamped. He'll do it. And then, we got our 2 interior guys and our fab guys. So, everybody does a little bit of everything.
Nice. So, I mean, we obviously know. I mean, that's obviously, folks. That's what it takes for a small team. You're just not, equipped for just, like some of the bigger teams, some of this, that. You're not just equipped to. You have to be able to do multiple different tasks, because if you can't, then they just don't have the staffing to be able to run a 10-car team, 12-car team. But other than that, well, I mean, look at the dynamic from what you do here. I mean, you came over to us. You've been with us for a couple of seasons now. Well, you've been racing with me for a couple of seasons now. I mean, what do you think? I mean, of the league, this and that. I mean, are you enjoying yourself? Not enjoying yourself? I mean, be honest, definitely, please.
I really definitely enjoy myself. I look forward to racing every night. Not only do I drive the 16 Busch car full time, I reserve just about every week because there's always a car or truck open on Tuesdays and truck series. I enjoy both of them. I have a great time. Last season was my first full-time season. The season before that, I joined for a couple races coming out of another league I was in that didn't end so well. It got dumped on us as admins, and then from there, just one guy kept wanting to bring somebody else in that wanted to run it, and then it just ruined it. So I came over to you guys after a Facebook post and ran Indy and ran really good there on the road course. And then, school and life came, so I couldn't do it. And then all of a sudden COVID came and no job and school was out and nothing better to do when you're sitting at an apartment hours away from home except for a sim race. So I got on there and did as much as I could and, loved it. And, went to go run for a Busch championship last year and now trying to do it again this year. And I mean, I love every night. And there's issues. Definitely, a lot of new drivers with the old guys and everybody gets frustrated, but it's just how it is. We'll all mesh together at some point.
Definitely.
Oh, and you've seen it before. I mean, you've seen it so. I mean, this is you had a full season last year with me and this and that. I mean, you've seen it before where it takes some time to get everybody in tune with everybody, but as soon as people realize that this is a league for what it stands for, not just stands for family, but it stands for no, there's no favoritism. There's no this and that. The rules are the rules. Nothing gets over, changed and this and that unless it's legitly changed. I mean, you don't find those very often. That's for sure.
No, you definitely don't. In that other league, it was really bad with that. It was all of a sudden, this is what we're going to do. We finished out the original first season of the rules and all that the guy that started it did. And after that, we're going to do our own thing and we're going to make this league our own. We all race each other. It's just easier to stay here. And it fell apart because it was bringing people in that weren't there for the start of it and then wanting to take over completely, and it just changed it to what they want, changing the nights, changing what we're doing, changing the point structure, just because that's what they wanted, and everybody else bowed down to it, and there was no let's go on this as a team, not as what of like just how you want to do it. That's what I really love about the WRL is it's every part of it is a team, from the admin team down to your driver teams. And like I drive for Fatal, which just happens to be owned by the league owner, and there's no favoritism whatsoever by what I see. It's like if it happens, it happens. It's if there's a penalty, you get it, and if there's no leniency towards it, it's all done how it should be, and that's why I still stay, because it's you have people that are going to annoy you and wreck you every week and not race you clean and all that, but it's always that's just one lap or a one race deal. Next week you'll come back and you'll do better and you'll be away from that person, and it's amazing. I've had some of the best sim racing in this league.
It's funny that you say that because of something. Those people that you talk about when you say this, and this is something that I pride about, is that even though that they may not be able to drive the line, they may not do that. Those are those drivers that some can be developed and some cannot. And that's what everybody knows Herbert Motorsport thrives on, is stuff like that. Is taking those drivers that that can drive. Don't get me wrong; they can drive. They can drive beyond the wheels. They can drive beyond the car. They can drive beyond the mile. Whatever. Some of us. The key is just getting them to slow down a little bit, because if you slow them down, you'll find out those drivers, the new drivers, are going to be actually really fast.
Oh yeah,
that's just a lot of work.
And I mean, if anybody watched the Martinsville race, I mean, it was a good race, other than just guys not knowing how each other races, and learning that breaking point of, okay, we're at a small track, we're bunched up, I'm going to break a little earlier than what I usually do and stay out of this, and that's where a lot of that's coming from, is just guys that are new to sim racing completely, and just they don't understand how to back up a corner in a group or just stuff like that. I mean, and like you said, it'll come in time.
It took us 2 years to develop the Busch Series. You were there for one of them. I mean, the first year, the first 3 races were just kind of like this year. Kind of a little chaotic, unsorted. And then as time went on, and I predicted, just like it's going to happen before, is that everybody's going to fall right into that line of paying attention to other drivers around them, and next we're going to have some great racing, because last year was incredible. I mean, you were there. That was incredible racing last season. The season before that, beginning of it was kind of tough. Second half of it came out great. And as long as everybody keeps doing what they're doing, I mean, the race is going to be great, and we are glad to have you with us, especially being from where you come from. From not only doing it as a job, but just doing it as, coming to us, in a sim racing series where we know that, that was a big thing, back when COVID hit and this and that. I mean, that's us, I was already involved in it before then, but I mean, just to have it, and it's blown up, and it's incredible how it's blown up.
Oh, it really is. I mean, I can't believe how good it is. Like, once we get this all ironed back out, probably about mid-season is when it'll really hit its stride, like it did, last year, or after the first couple races when everybody got themselves figured out. It'll be an amazing season, like for a battle for championship and the new chase format and all that. It'll be great. I can't wait for it.
Yeah, so speaking of new chase format, going into this week, Will, you were the first driver on the outside of the playoffs here. I'm trying to get my thing to get up here so I can look at the points on my second screen here. So you were the first driver on the outside of the points. I don't know if they did points or not yet.
I don't think the points have been updated yet quite, Bob.
I don't think yet either. I haven't done truck points yet. I've been super busy getting some stuff ready and some other things. They have updated points. Yeah. So, after 6 races, Godzak, our winner at Mid-Ohio, getting that redemption from last season, he is leading at 285. Keith Allen Ayers has moved into second at 243. Jay Fergie, 235. Kyle McFarland has fallen from second to fourth at 220. Scorpius is at 209. Matt Parkhurst 208, Christian Schoberg 202, Seas and Goose are both tied at 200. Turf is at 199. Gabe Nerd 185, tied with Maggio at 185. And Nat 20 is at 180, and William Moore +2 above the cut line at 170. Drake, who has won 2 races this season already, is at 168. First driver out. Casey Joe's 160. Chase NASCAR's 157. Anybody 153. Warpig 148. Kevin 55 138. David Roach 124. And that'll be like your top 21 drivers. Mike,
I was say you can stop there now, Jay, because I'm with it. I'm like so excited. I'm like, come on. I'm like, nope. Okay, you can stop anytime now, buddy.
22nd, Mike. That's where you're at. 22nd.
Yeah, well, I don't stay there very long though.
Yeah.
That's my normal forte. I always seems to start in the cellar.
Yep.
Maybe.
It's craziness, but it's crazy how many how many drivers have ran at least one race so far this season, and it's up in the 40s, almost 50 at this point.
I mean,
it's crazy. And if we want to look at Busch team points, 753 for KII Keith Ayers Inc. Then Critical Role is at 715. Fatal Motorsports 629. D4C is at 435. Night Racing is at 383. Wolfpack's 302. Hurlbut's 261. MMG's 227. Hampton 212. Parky Racing 160. And Rick Finney Inc. is at 75.
oh boys, I'm gonna tell you right now, you better run with this right now because of this won't stay like this very long. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah.
Me to be that spot, yeah.
It's crazy.
You better go.
It's crazy. So, Will, what's the biggest difference from working on these cars to actually racing these cars?
I mean, no, a lot of it is just the fact of, so like working on them and being around them every day, you really see like what goes into making one of these things. Like from the time you see it from, the race you saw on TV last week to say the race you go to the week after, seeing like from a road course to a short track car to an intermediate car to a super speedway car. There's differences about all of them, but a lot of them are the same. The super speedway cars are the only ones that are completely different and can't be used anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
The other ones you can change parts around and make it work somewhere else. And then going from that to racing one on sim racing, it's not exactly what you expect. You would expect to actually hear what the driver says on the radio every week, but then it's completely different and a setup that they might give you some notes to just be like, okay, this is one we used to run a long time ago. No one even uses it anymore. We'll give it to this kid that works in the shop that sim races. It nowhere near works out. Like it's completely different awful. And it's terrible.
That is awful because you think about it. I mean, you look at it, like, no, we'll go with this thing here. Give it the 5-yard punt, give it to somebody else. There you go. That's awful.
Yeah. And it just completely doesn't work, and it's major, from the real life to the racing, even from heat to iRacing, it's completely different. Just because of how like the physics work of the games versus how like actual geometry and all that and the real world. So it's a major like difference once you would think from actually putting a spring in to holy crap, we're running a 1200 in the front here, but if you go to the sim racing side, you're the fastest if you put an 800 in it.
Yeah.
And it's completely different, and you wouldn't even think it would be that far off, but it is.
Well, yeah, I mean, you think about it, okay. Now, the dynamic from actual racing, like, you or anybody else, and then look at there is definitely got to be that kind of transfer of how much the degree is gridded, how much, that is the big differential. You think about it. You actually, you're running, 1,000 to 800 or whatever, et cetera, you know what I mean? But I mean, it's still the same dynamic. You still got to have the same mentality, whether it be on video game like we do, heat, iRacing, et cetera. Or regular racing, you still got to have that patience. You still got to have that respect. You still got to have all those things that make a great racer. You got to have them, whether it be that way or this way. Am I correct?
Oh yeah, exactly. I mean, and a perfect example of this is we had a driver for the 38 at the beginning of the season that was paying to run the short tracks. Parker Retzlaff was our driver for a lot of the short track stuff. He did ARCA and all that, but his big deal was he was an actual pro sim racer for RFK Racing, and we were all like, oh, he's just a sim racer, he might be good on a video game, but let's get him in a real car and see what he does. He the first time ever in an Xfinity car and at Phoenix qualified 6th, and the worst car in the shop, like the most wore out, overused car that we have. And next thing, and they didn't finish because of fuel cable issue. Well, he goes to Richmond and he is having to hold up behind Ryan, and he's in the worst car we have versus Ryan in a Stewart Haas car with the least engine from Roush Yates in it. And he's having to late brake, early brake and let off early not to run him over because he's faster than him. And it's just like, wow, like, you don't think it would transfer like that, but I mean, he's just as good in this as he is in a game.
Yeah, here's that prime example that you're talking about, Will. Look at William Byron. Irish all the way. They put him in. He got a great deal with Hendricks. Ended up in Hendricks' car, and look at him. How many hours do you think he logged into any type of Xfinity car or anything else? How many hours do you think before he transferred over?
Oh, probably none at all.
Because of that's how actually you would not believe that how much the transfer is. That's why a lot of the guys now, such as I would say Ryan, would probably do the same thing. Lock himself, get himself into a rig, do some laps wherever he's going, get some lines down. I mean, I do the same thing. I preach this a lot in our league. Well, you guys kind of know, practice, work together, become accumulated with your lines with each other. You know what I mean? It's no different. It's different, but it's that kind of that first say that we always say. It's the same but different kind of deal.
Yeah, I mean, and California is another good example. We were supposed to have Timmy Hill in our car, but Joey Graff didn't qualify in, so they bought they bought the ride out for the race, and he ended up running it. Well, when Timmy was supposed to be in the car originally, he was going through tech with us, and we were just talking, and I was like, because he talked about iRacing and all that, and I was like, what's the biggest, like, does it help that much? And he's like, to be honest with you, he's like, for actually seeing how the car drives, maybe. He's like, it's not a definite, I can get on iRacing and know what my car is going to do when I hit the track. He's like, not at all. He's like, but it is a good reference for braking points, where you're going to let off, where you're going to, the area rough area it's a rough estimate of what you're able to do and what that car is able to do with the setup you're going to be running. It's so you're somewhat prepared, and it's not as big of a, it's exactly what it's going to do, but it's more of a, I have an idea.
You're right, and that's why I practice, like, whether or not we do it like be it on the real track or whether it be in our VR like we or video games like we do. You can't go into a game dry. I mean, you have to have some type of preparation, some type of lag management, some type of this. I mean, a lot of people think, oh, no. Well, you really do. I mean, you think about it, Will. I mean, Jade knows it too. I mean, Jade understands this as well as anybody. If you do not have at least some type of acknowledgement or something of what you're doing an hour to 45 minutes or maximum maybe 2 hours before you got a race, your race is not going to be what you think it is.
I used to do that too all the time, where like I just would show up and run, and some nights I would do good, but 9 times out of 10 I would not do worth crap and wonder why. And then I started putting laps in every week, and now I went from barely making a top 15 every week to running for a championship last year. So that I can say there's truth to that too.
I mean, if you look at Harwood Motorsports, for 2 years straight in Xfinity Series, our success came from one, is we showed up every race. Two is we worked together every race. You know, we practiced even whether or not we were running together or not. We still did line management. We still paced each other towards. You know, of course we knew Casey and Goose are fast, so you know my tires were. You know what I mean? I was, but it's still we won't go there. But you know what I mean? You know, I was still working on getting faster and faster and faster, and that's what it takes. You know, for the success of where we're at.
Yeah, so I do want to take a second to mention some comments here.
Oh, yes, please do, Jake.
Parky says, "Hi, Will." Keith and Grant said both that they both said hi and that they both said good job getting in the playoffs this weekend. Last night you guys finished 10th, I believe, right? Overall at Bristol?
Yes. Yeah, yes, we finished 10th and 24th.
Yeah.
That's not bad at all. You know, you guys, that was a good showing for you guys.
Well, the one that got in need to get in.
Oh, yeah.
I know I was, Alex Van Evie, Emily Van Evie, and myself, we went up to, we were up in Michigan, and I forgot to message you the day before and be like, yo, Will, can you get us into the garage? I totally forgot about it, and then didn't think about it till we were almost already there. So...
And I didn't either because I thought about it and I was like, dang, I could have just texted our PR guy and gotten them, 2 or 3 tickets, get in the garage and, come see some of this stuff.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I know, the next, I know that I think the races we talked about going to next year is, we're going to go to Fairbury for the World of Outlaws. And then I think we're going to go to the Chicago race, which I believe Xfinity's not going to Chicago, right? For the...
Oh, no, we found out we are.
Oh, you guys are going?
Yes.
So that means Alex, Emily, and I are going to try to see you in Chicago if I don't meet you before that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, and that's one thing, too, that, came out this week was that they released schedules for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And that, to be honest with you, I hate the schedule. It is terrible. It is probably the worst Xfinity schedule in a long time. We go to Portland and Sonoma back to back.
Oh, there you go. There's a trip.
So think of it this way. You have your Stewart Hosses, you have your RCRs, you have your I believe Hendrick is supposed to have an Xfinity team next year.
Yeah. They're looking at more besides Junior, yeah.
So, after all that, they're going to be able to do it no problem because they probably have 6 to 10 road course cars just sitting in their shop whenever they need them, and they bring backups. Like, prime example, Noah Gregson switched to a backup in Portland. So, they all have backups for all of them that are basically built except for maybe a couple things here and there that specific to the car, what they did setup-wise. Where you got, us, SS Greenlight, Mike Harmon, BJ, JD, all of them, we don't have backup road course cars. So if something happens, we're screwed. So, like, say if, in Portland, it's pouring again. And for an example, I mean, both cars were tore up after Portland. One of them, it didn't need any radiator because they got all smashed in when Riley spun, and we got into it. And Ryan had a bunch of front end damage on his car, so it's like, so what are we going to do? We can't just send them back to North Carolina because it takes 4 days to get from here in Georgia, almost by Atlanta, all the way to Portland.
And that's the transport backup, right?
And no, we don't even have the backup. That's the thing. Okay. So they would have to buy a backup car. We would have to build it before they left, and then send 2 haulers. We only sent 1 to Portland this year, so we'd have to send.
The small teams that you guys deal with, like yourself, this is what it takes to make them want. I mean, it's not the fact that they have the huge backings where they have the double cars or the triple cars hauling in a hauler. They do it because it's out of determination and out of hoping that all their hard work that one time will pay off. Like Michael McDowell, he's seen it. BJ's, Jeremy, he got lucky by overturning his penalty, you know what I mean? And stuff like that. That's what it takes is that never give up, never determine, always go as hard as you can, mentality. That's what gets you what you want.
And we know that too. I mean, because at that same race Jeremy Clemens won, 38, Kyle, Ryan's brother, got 10th. I mean that's his best Xfinity Series finish, and that's his first. This is his first season, even running a part-time schedule. He only ran Phoenix last year, so he only had one Xfinity race coming into this year, and that was just basically just to get him used to the car. Like it was, he had no, it had CMR on it, but it was mainly because of we're just going to put our logo on it so you don't have a bare car running around the track. That's
Right.
basically
Well, yeah.
it.
Right. And,
And
that even that little bit of air, whatever, time.
But
we've all been there.
and nothing about it was to be competitive. It was just to get some laps in a car. And then going into this year, he ran a couple races, didn't do bad. He got a top 15 in California, or not California. I think it was Vegas. No, yeah, it was California. After a motor change, so we had changed the motor after practice. Barely made the race, and we got in just because it had enough points from Daytona and last year. The couple times they run it to make it in, so we got it in the race, and then finished top 15, and then going into Daytona was expecting probably top 20, and then all of a sudden with a damaged car got 10th. So
and how'd that feel with all that hard work you guys, everybody put into that? How did that feel? That's what I'm looking at. That's the key. What I'm looking at. That's the emotion towards us. What we do, whether it be VR or anything else, and that's what it takes. I mean, that's what I'm getting at. How did that feel knowing that it happened that way?
It's great because I mean, us being on the second car, we're not supposed to be doing that good. We're supposed to be the ones that we're gonna. It's a development for us because most of us, this is our first season doing it. So we're just basically development to get to that 39 car when they need help, and we were nowhere supposed to be doing that. Ryan was supposed to do really good, propel him into the playoffs. Well, got wrecked out in that last big wreck, and then next thing you know, we're finishing 10th, and it was like a win for us because I mean, we had a top 10 finisher in the year with Parker, but it was like a wow, like that's cool because we were full team then because we had extra people because CJ didn't make it in the race.
Right.
So we were like a full team over there, and like we ended up finishing really good. It was like we won the race.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I mean it never you don't always to be successful in the field that exhilaration and that excitement. You don't always have to win it to be in it necessarily. I mean that's always something that I've always felt. You don't have to do that. To win it, to be in it, means how you feel. You could be finished 15th, but if it's a successful day of looking at what you change motors, had to adjust the car, had to do this, had to do that, but you look what you came out as a P10. I mean, that is a successful day. Whether it be reality or VR, it does not matter. It's still a successful day.
Oh, I mean, anytime we show up to the track and it's been a bad day because, a hub seal's leaking or axle cap came through the dust cap or an axle came through the dust cap or, motor change or the car's destroyed or inspection. Well, we went through inspection 3 times and if we go through one more time, we're losing a crew chief and a car chief and or going into VR or sim racing, going into I've never done good there, but I got a top 5 this week, or I'm in the playoffs, or I'm running for a championship. It's always good, It's
inspection. How concerned? When you guys walk in being a small team, when it comes to inspection, how concerned are you about failing or not failing? I mean, I know you guys got to go through 3 times and this and that, blah blah blah. I mean, you know what I'm asking, kind of the dynamic of it. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, I can tell you what, after Jeremy Clemens' deal, they're looking at us a lot harder now because it was a small team that got caught. It wasn't a big team. So, like, the last 2 weeks in a row, the 39's gotten randomed. So, it's, air quotes around my random. And the last 2 weeks in a row. So, it's, they're looking at it hard because he's a small team making it into the playoffs. And then our car, a lot of times it's stuff that's overlooked because it's just, we're going to get it ready to go to the track and we're rushing. And we spent all this time on the other car and then something gets missed and we go through again. And I mean, most of the time it's not bad because you're there for a full day anyway. So it's like, okay, well, I'm losing an hour of time. I would sit behind the hauler and do nothing. Yeah. So at least I'm doing something. And the only time it really gets annoying is when we're only there for tech. And it's like, okay, if we can get through this, within the first 2 hours, we can be back at the hotel by 3:30.
Drinking. No.
Yeah, we could be out partying and having a good night. So, or I could be going to bed because I've been up since 4 o'clock this morning.
No, that's
So
all right.
it's great, but it just gets annoying when you fail multiple times. I mean, we've only failed twice, once, and that was in Phoenix.
Yep.
And other than that, normally we make it through. Both cars had a streak here recently from it was 6 weeks in a row we passed first time through. So it was, we didn't have to worry about it. But then, every now and then you get the back window's too high and the bar won't move in tech. So they make you go back around, or, a spring's not sitting flush because the mount's screwed up.
Something really stupid minor, too.
All the time. I mean, it's every week there's something wrong with a seat, and it's well, we can't fix it because Butler built, we can't get the stuff. So, what do you want us to do about it? It's the only seat he's got. I mean, it's been inspected. The seat's good. It's just you're not wanting to pass it in tech. So and they normally let it go, but it's one of those things. It's minor things. It's normally what we get failed for. Very rarely is it a major deal.
Right. So, Jade, any questions out there from everybody that's out there just hanging out with us, or what?
So we do have a few more viewers watching, so I do want to remind everybody that this is we're talking with William Moore. He's a driver in the WRL. He also works for Ryan Sieg Racing during the day. So for people who are watching who do not know, also I don't think we mentioned that his camera is not working on his phone.
Yes, thank you.
So we didn't mention that to start with. Sikkim. He raced with us forever ago. He says it's been a while. I don't know if you're still watching, Sicko, but it's good to hear from you, buddy. So Parky said that he might hit up Road America again next season. So Parky, I wasn't able to go with you this year, but man, we figure this out beforehand. Next year, I'll go with you, buddy. Then Grant says that him in Nitro might be going to the championship race next season. So that would be that's pretty cool. I do want to touch on something we were talking about before the stream started, Mike. Your racing career. I thought that was pretty cool. I never actually knew that about that.
Oh, you didn't?
So, no. So if you want to talk about that with, say it over the stream so everyone can kind of hear, then I also got a story that I want to relate to that too.
No, I started actually in the late 80s, early 90s. I actually started in Oxford Plains Speedway in Oxford, Maine. Started as a late model driver for Micro Racing, which at that point, we had a Busch North Series, which was sponsored by NASCAR, which I had my opportunity to. We took a lot of our cars with Jamie Aubie, Knievel, Billy Clark, Dale Shaw. They raced a lot of the North Series races up here. I had an opportunity to race, be part of them, and racing during that time, during the 90s. From there, I went to Phoenix, where I actually went to school for my college for culinary business, which I achieved. And I started racing late models out there, UMPs, super mods. And then from there, did all right, until, we had one hit a berm, rolled my car, and basically that's how that goes.
Mm-hmm.
The doctor said no. He wasn't going to allow me to race again because of the crash. It actually ripped my seat out, broke my welding, broke the weld right out of the car, and rolled me 4 times. And so this is where I sit. And so now I sit doing virtual reality with doing NASCAR heat with you guys, and had a great success here too as well. So
yeah, I never actually knew that. That's something I don't think is ever really touched on between the two of us, and kind of sucks that we're not that we don't get to see out there anymore. But I mean, it's kind of
it's a godsend in a way because of the accident. Really did me really bad.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I rolled that. Sorry guys, the fire kind of went out here. I'm actually outside doing this broadcast. It kind of sucked because when I hit the berm, it was one of those kind of deals, dirt racing, which we all know how dirt racing works, where you get those kind of berms every once in a while on the track, and it's not quite set right.
Mm-hmm.
And I hit that on my left front, right front, and when it hit my right front, it rolled my late model.
Mm-hmm.
And when it rolled me good, because I was running the top 5 at the time. It was probably about 120, 125 coming out of We were actually in Lake Havasu, Arizona,
Okay.
when I rolled that.
My so my great uncle Bob is actually the most winningest driver at Lernerville, and I used to know how many wins it was off the top of my head, but I don't remember. But my dad was telling me a story that he actually got asked to go and try out for NASCAR. I think he was in a modified. I forget what track it was that he was at, but the throttle stuck, and he went like full force into the wall.
Oh,
Oh, he cracked most
Oh,
of his
I'll tell ya.
ribs. He had a punctured
it was
lung.
a
It
mess. I mean, back in those days, I mean, it's not like it is now. I mean,
Mhm.
nowadays, the safety that happens to the cars is 20 times better than what I was dealing with when I was racing late models on asphalt up in Oxford.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
and it's so different. And I wish I would have had some of those safety features back then, because I was been, we all know that how up here in the Northeast, when it comes to late model racing, it's a different theory up here.
Mhm. Yeah.
They have no problem, you know, tap you once, tap you twice, but other than that, you either get out of my way or it's on.
Yeah.
And that's how Dale Shaw ran it. That's how the Dragon Brothers ran it. That's how Leland Kangas ran it. Mike Rowe, which just inducted to the Hall of Fame, which is actually where I learned how to that's actually where I learned from, was Mike Rowe racing. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
He's 50, almost 60 something years old, and he was still racing. And then his son took over, Mike, which et cetera, et cetera. And he ran the throwback car in the Oxford 250 this year for his dad,
Mhm.
which was actually kind of funny because it was actually a 24 car,
Mhm.
so Connor
That's awesome.
GMC.
That's
And then
awesome.
I have pictures of my old Bush car, which was a '07, but the thing looks like a bright orange pumpkin. I swear to God, it was a great car. Don't get me wrong, it was an old Pontiac,
Mhm.
old Pontiac Buick 2-door, but
That's
it
awesome.
looked like an orange pumpkin.
That's awesome. So, Keith also said in the stream that he'll be at Watkins Glen next season again. So, Will, did you and Keith actually meet at Watkins Glen, or did it not work out?
No, we did. He picked me up from the airport.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Those kind of pictures we need to see.
Yeah. Like, come on now.
Come on, man.
There's a picture of Keith and I floating around somewhere. I don't know where it ended up, but there's a picture of us together. That's awesome. I didn't.
yeah, he got. I had a traffic deal earlier in the day that I had to go take care of for like a ticket, and their flight was leaving as the time they told me to come do it. So I ended up having my flight moved back, and he was like, "Yeah, I can come pick you up." And so I flew in, and it was like, I don't know, it was like midnight when I landed.
Yeah.
And he picked me up, and we met, talked, and all that. We were gonna go by the track first, or originally we were gonna go grab, go have a drink, and talk and all that. But it was just so late, and we finally found the Airbnb we were staying at, and I was just like, you know what? Can we just talk tomorrow? Because you're coming to the track anyway. Like you'll be at the track this weekend. I'll just do it later, and we ended up. I got him a ticket to get into the race, a garage pass and all that for coming to get me, and
Oh, sick.
That's awesome.
and we hung out a little bit we could.
That's awesome.
Because not long into the race, the gear just happened to blow up in my car, so I had to deal with that. And I gave him the little seal for it that we found on the ground. I was like, "Here, have yourself a little souvenir."
That's awesome. That's
Because
awesome.
the whole pinion was just laying like just drooping on the ground.
Blew completely apart.
Oh yeah, it was because like he come across because he started in the back because we had a problem before, and he started in the back. He like within a couple laps he was up to 20th, and he was flying. And all of a sudden he's like, I smell something bad, like something is wrong. And then next thing you know, going into the bus stop, he's like, I have no drive whatsoever. And then he just went straight on. The spotter didn't hear him. So he's like, okay, just get back up and going, and come in and pit, and we'll look at it. He's like, I can't go anywhere. It's not moving. And he get it towed back. We get it jacked up, and I just lean right. I'm like, oh, that ain't good. There's gear oil everywhere. That's not good. And I slide all that under. I'm like, oh, the pinion's just drooping. The only thing holding it in here is the drive shaft.
That's great.
Yeah, so just so you guys everybody knows, I'm actually outside next to a fire, so if my stuff looks kind of weird, so don't worry about it.
That's awesome. That's so funny. Like, like Keith never told me that. Like, he was supposed to, like, let me know how it went. And he's like, nah, I'm not gonna tell Jade. I'm like, oh man, that was great. I was gonna try to go to the Glen with Keith again this year or last year, but I didn't get the chance to. I'd like to go to the Glen again. I'd like to. Eventually, we are gonna have like a whole meetup where everybody meets for like a day or two somewhere.
New Hampshire.
But I don't know about New Hampshire. That's a little out there. That's a little out there, man. I mean, like,
Of course. I've
You know,
always got to be the one that's way out in the bushes somewhere.
well, that's like I'm thinking to myself, like, on all honesty, like where I'm at, like I'm 30 minutes from Pittsburgh,
Yeah.
and like when Alex and Emily were here, like they came down, and when I said, when I told them, I'm like, we're like 30 minutes from Pittsburgh, and like they didn't like realize like how close we actually were, because for they live up in Jonesville, it's like an hour or an hour and a half to Detroit.
Yeah.
But for me, like it's like literally like we went into Cranberry, we stopped at the milkshake
Wait a minute,
factory.
dude. You were saying that's far away, dude. You're only 6 hours from me.
Well, hold on, I'm getting there. Hold on, I'm getting there. I'm getting there. So we stopped and got milkshakes. I talked up the milkshake factory. I talked up the Jake Shake for Jake Gensel, who plays on the Penguins. Talked it up, and then we went into the city. I showed them the sights around the city, showed them everything, showed them some things. They were supposed to come back down in October, but that's not happening now. Alex doesn't have enough vacation days, which is cool. It happens. And then we went to what was it? Fathead's Brewery, I think is what it was called. Oh my god, they got some good stuff, let me tell you. But they just, for them, like they didn't, like Alex said, like he didn't realize like we were in the middle of the country, and then all of a sudden we're in Cranberry Township, and then all of a sudden we're on 79 and get off 279, you're right in the city. Like in 30 minutes, 35 minutes, depending on who's driving. If I'm driving, it's like 25. But
Yeah, well, we know you drive a bus, so we know.
Well, there's that.
Yeah.
Hopefully there's no parents watching. I'm playing.
We know. Jay Burr, reckless driving with 60 people.
Yeah. I already got turned in for that once this year, but that's fine. I'm like, you can check the camera. I'm like, I was told I was going too fast, and I'm like, what do you mean?
The kid had his foot on got his hand on my foot. I couldn't go nowhere.
I couldn't slow down. I don't know.
Oh my god, dude.
It's whatever. The thing with buses is that you think you're going. When you're sitting there watching a bus come at you, because we're big and yellow, and we're not yellow. We're National School Bus Chrome.
No, you're yellow, buddy.
Nope, National School Bus Chrome. That is the actual color of school buses. You can look it up.
So what is it? Rainbow colored?
No, it's yellow. It's chrome though, but it's yellow. Anyway, so yeah, like honest to God, like coming to me wouldn't be a horrible thing. I mean, oh, my flag fell. Oh, that sucks.
I don't know, man. You driving a bus just kind of scares me.
Wow, thanks. But no, like meeting up. I think I'm in a very with how the league is spread out. I'm in a very like central location for everyone to come here, and I know the city. There's plenty of hotels in town, in Cranberry.
Well, as I said, I mean, you say it's so far away from me. You're actually only 6.5 hours from me, buddy.
Yeah. So, Grant said he votes for Bristol. I think Bristol would be a fun time, but group trip on the bus. Thanks, Grant. That's a good idea. Listen, someone rents a bus, I'll drive it.
We don't have enough helmets.
Listen, I've been trying to convince my boss for about 2 months now to take an old school bus and let me race it at Lernerville.
Should do it. I mean, actually, that's becoming quite the thing.
Mm-hmm.
I've watched a couple of things on a couple different tracks about racing school buses. I thought of you every time I seen it.
Parky says, heck no, unless it's a short bus.
Short bus.
Short bus.
We have film on the window so you can lick them.
But yeah, so
Yeah. So
so Will, what got you into wanting to work for a NASCAR team? What was your thought process of trying to get into that?
Well, really, to be honest with you, it was never to work for a NASCAR team. My goal has always been IMSA. I grew up in Sebring, 5 miles behind the back straightaway,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where they do the Sebring 12-hour. And I'd been going. I was born in August of '01. My first race was March of '02,
Mm-hmm.
and so I've been to every up until this year because we were in Atlanta. I've been to every single race there since I was born.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad did it. He built GTP cars back in the '80s, and he got me into it. And I went to school. I went to trade school, and I have a degree. I have an associate's degree in automotive and diesel technology, and I'm certified in Western Star and Freightliner. And so I decided that's what I wanted to do is work on a race team. And I kept applying and applying and applying, and nowhere would answer me back, or they would, but they're like, "Yeah, we're in California, but we're only going to pay you this much." And it's like, okay, well, I'll be homeless, but I'll have a job all at the same time. And I decided that's a no. And one day I had a new job at a farm down where I lived at, and Cowboy, our crew chief, called me and said we needed help, and that he was wanting to, have me come up for a few days and try me out, see how I do, and see if I like it and all that. And that just wasn't something I could do with a new job and paying for plane tickets and all that. And he was finally like, we really need the help. Can you just, if you want the job, it's yours. And I was like, all right. And I packed all my stuff up and came up here to work.
That's awesome.
and that's something, buddy. That you're not the first person that I've heard that. That's how it actually starts. You know what I mean? You're not the first one that it wasn't necessarily your plan, wasn't necessarily what you wanted to do. Yeah, because I mean, I was actually going to UTI as well, and it's never a plan. It just happens that way, and just like you did, look where you ended up.
Yeah, I mean, it's like my goal is to still go work for an IMSA team. It's just getting the experience. Most of them they want 5+ years minimum experience.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what I'm just getting here now is just getting the experience.
And that's what it takes. And people don't look at that in the race world. People don't look at it as a bad thing. Experience is knowledge, and knowledge is success.
Knowledge is power.
And that's how it is. Yeah, oh yeah. Look at Jade. He's been driving bus forever.
5th year. So Grant said he's trying to get into UTI himself.
It took you all about like 10 seconds to catch what I was just saying. I'm just kidding, buddy.
Hey man, this is what it is, man. It's paying the bills. That's all that matters right now.
Hey.
With me trying to get, with me trying to get Fatal up and running, and not just an online team. I want it to be an actual physical. Here's the car.
It can be done. Well, it can be done.
It can be done.
It can be done.
It's a lot of work that needs to be done, and it's a lot of money. It's a lot.
Well, it doesn't have to be a lot. It's not about the money either. If you love something so much, it doesn't always have to be about money.
Exactly.
It doesn't.
When I took over the WRL, 2 years ago? At this point,
about 2 years now.
About 2 years now, and it's this isn't the first league that I've managed, but this is the first one where it's worked as well as it was, and all the other steps that I took to get to this point taught me a lot about what I needed to do to get to get here. And my drivers, they they give me a run for my money. The drivers in the WRL sometimes, and making these calls, making the calls that need to be made. You guys don't always like the calls that I make, but at the end of the day, you see why I make them, and the rest is history.
Well,
so
doesn't being one of the positions that you and all of us admits by standing there, the decisions we make, we may not like them, but unfortunately, we have to make them.
Yep.
Because that's what keeps it. That's what keeps it real. That's what keeps it what we want. That's what keeps it as, where okay, there's no bipartisan, no none of this, no none of that. That's that's what it's about in the end.
So I was trying to, my goal is to get Fatal up and running, and I think I said it before, I'd like to personally, I'd like to run one race, one NASCAR race, me actually running the car, and I want to run the Daytona 500 one time. So that I can be, I will gladly be 15 laps down by the end of the first stage, but as long as I get to run it once, it's all I care about.
You're good that way.
One time, it's all I'd want, and it'd be a good time. But
So, Will, I mean, are you ready for next weekend?
Oh,
Now
definitely.
that you know that now that Ryan's all set and this and that.
Oh yeah, I mean, Texas car was our backup car this week, so luckily we didn't need to pull it out. So we're gonna unload it tomorrow, so Cowboy can come in early Monday morning and get some stuff done before he has to head out for the day. And we're gonna get these cars tore down and get that thing and make it a hot rod and get him into try to do our goal every weekend, try to get him into victory lane come Saturday night.
Mm-hmm.
And just so folks, just so you know that these small teams, they have to recycle things. They have to use things. Some people that have discarded and don't use them anymore. That's not, and it values the smaller teams. That's what he means, like doing transfers and things like that, doing some of the changes they have to, because their chassis are different. This and that. So, this is what it takes for a small team to make, to not only be in the playoffs, but to try to be competitive in the playoffs. And Will's part of that, and it's a lot of work. I've been there. He's been there. Jay does it on a different manner, being with the league. I mean, it's not the fact that it's the same. It's the same but different. How's that? It sounds kind of weird, don't it?
Yeah. So I was looking at the schedule for next season for the Xfinity Series. 3 out of 4 races in a row are all road courses. You go to Portland, then Sonoma. You guys have an off week for the 14th or the 17th, and then you go to Nashville. Then you go to Chicago. So that's that span of weeks. That's going to be a lot of work for you guys, and you guys don't have an extra road course car like you were saying.
So this is not going to be for sure, but this is what we're seeing. Either A, they buy another road course car, and we build a backup just in case, or they don't sell the second car or don't use the second car for those 2 races, and that's the backup. So one way or the other, we should have a car just in case if it is needed, but it's still don't think been figured out yet, because there's still a lot of stuff that's going on next year that everybody's trying to figure out.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I was just looking at the schedule. There's 8 road courses total on the schedule next season for you guys. That's a lot.
Yeah, 2 more times we got to build those damn cars.
Yeah, you guys go to Coda, Portland, Sonoma, Chicago, Road America, the Indy Road Course, the Glen, and the Charlotte Roval. That's about eight more road courses than I personally want to run. So.
Well, yeah. I mean, you think about it. It's a lot more road courses than any of us want to run.
Honestly, though, like with us. With the league, our road course racing, I think it benefits from the custom setups.
Yes, I agree.
So, Will, I know we said earlier, you said about the setups don't really transfer to heat. Is there any part of the setup that does transfer to heat that you're allowed to say?
Maybe like your tire pressures, but most of it don't, because like I said, it's your real life geometries and your measurements. It's not going to be close in a game, because it can't simulate real life. So, a lot of those, what they do for setups is what they used last year, and they're going off that. Like they're just going off, for tire pressures at the time of day, the grip of the track, just stuff. A lot of that has to do with just of the weather of how it was when they were there, like your tire pressures, your grill tape, stuff like that. Well, when you transfer it over to a video game, none of that's going to be the same. And, your grip level is not going to be the same. So where you put a track bar is going to be different, and
we don't even have a track bar.
Yeah. And so like with springs, 9 times out of 10, your right side is going to be one of your stiffest because you're trying to get the end of that spoiler in the air, because that's what's going to keep downforce. So, the more rear grip you have, the more you're going to be able to get back on it in the corner. And so that's going to be different. Like I said, you could be running a 1,200-pound spring on the real thing, but you're probably running an 8 in the virtual one, and it works just as good. So you really have to fine tune it and tweak it. Because like I've asked our guys that build our shocks, because one of them he's worked at, when Biaggi still had a team, he worked for them, and he was one of like their big guys that built shocks and was a crew chief and all that for them. And he builds our setups and has his own business now doing that. He designed the whole suspension system on the Raptor, and he's a big wig and all that. And I asked him, because he even does iRacing with his buddies for fun, and I was like, does any of this transfer? Like, can I get some help with some of this stuff for a league I run? And he's like, be honest with you, I have no clue. I don't even touch open setups on there, because he's like, I can't even figure it out. He's like, I've built setups for some of the best cars. I've won I don't know how many races. He's like, can't figure it out online.
Oh, the dynamic is way different. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. So I got one more question before we wrap it up here, Will.
Yep.
All right. So the big news. It's been officially announced that Kyle Busch will be going to RCR to run the 8 car next season.
Mm-hmm.
With the rumor mill that was surrounding with the fans, was it the same as what it was in the garage, or is it a little bit different than what the fans were saying and, thinking?
To be honest with you, with us being a Stewart-Haas affiliated team and always dealing with Stewart-Haas, everybody at Stewart-Haas thought it was a done deal. He was going to Stewart-Haas. Like, that was it. That's where he was going. He was either driving the 10 or the 41. That was who he was going to.
Wow.
Well, Eric Almirola decided he wasn't going to retire, and they're not going to get rid of Cole Custer, because his dad is one of the big wigs at Stewart-Haas. So there was no open seat. Kevin Harvick isn't going anywhere, and Chase Briscoe is just now hitting his stride. So nobody there is going anywhere. And the only other available option, there really was no options. You have 2311, which was, Kurt's hurt. Nobody knows when he's coming back. So that's an option, because Kurt could be retiring and Kyle could run that car for a couple years with keeping the Toyota contract there. Or be honest with you, I don't think anybody thought he was going to RCR. I don't think, be honest with you, in the garage, you might have heard that once or twice, but it was nothing like, okay, I know for a fact he's going to RCR next year.
Not just that, he went to Chevy.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the flip point of the whole deal, is that he actually went to Chevy.
Yes. And everybody's making a big deal about how, all his truck team's gonna have to change everything. No.
Yeah.
It's a front bumper and a rear bumper. It's the same motor. It's the same truck. Everything about them is exactly the same
equipment. Yeah. Okay. So really, all it takes is the name.
Because they all run Ilmor Chevrolets.
Right.
The chassis are all the same. Like a good example for your chassis. All of Ryan's are Stewart-Haas. Stewart-Haas is a factory Ford team. They probably always will be, unless the other Dodge rumor that's been floating around. So Ford's guaranteed bolt up to those. Well, our 38 cars, which are Ryan's cars last year, are all RCR chassis. Ford bolts right into them, no problem.
Right.
It all is what motor mount you use. And all the chassis are exactly the same, because NASCAR certifies them.
Okay.
You can look between the Stewart-Haas and RCR, just about everything's the same except between certain parts of who builds what. Like an RCR rear end might be, and hubs might be a little different, or their motor mounts might look a little different, or here and there is going to be a tad different, but they're all basically the same thing. They all work the same way.
Right.
Well, that's crazy to me. I didn't even hear about him potentially going to Stewart-Haas. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Well, because remember, Eric Almirola was supposed to retire.
Yeah.
And this was supposed to be his last year, so that was an open seat.
Exactly. He was all supposed to be done this year.
And so it was, that's the next open one. He's never been to Ford, and he likes starting controversy. So there you go.
That's
Mhm.
You know,
true.
he's going-
That's true.
he's never- So I mean, it's like there you go. He's going to be over there, and apparently, by what interviews I heard with Kevin Harvick, is Kevin Harvick wanted him there bad. Like he wanted Kyle to go and be over there, but you know, it's known things that Ford let it go. You know, the whole Kyle Larson deal, they didn't want him there, so he went to Hendrick, and now he's dominating.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly. And look at the extension you just got.
Yeah.
I mean, think about that too. I mean, that's nothing we need one to touch on is that Kyle Larson just extended his extension until 2026.
That's crazy to me though. That like no sponsors like are jumping in on Kyle Larson. I mean, he's still winning races. I mean, last year he won 10, right? Was that what it was? It was 10.
something like that, yeah.
But you think about it, guys. The attitude. The
And-
it brings it. Yes, I mean, attitude does bring certain things to us, but
Mm-hmm.
what does it do in the end? Sometimes when it comes to their crunch time, when we need to sign different contracts, or unfortunately we need to move to a different series, or a different race team,
Mm-hmm.
what does that bring?
And I don't want to get political, but you know, with what all had happened and the world we still live in, it's still going to be a bad move on sponsors to go to that to go to the dude that said the N word.
Yep.
That's what all it comes down to. If that
Correct.
would have never happened, he would probably end up, you know what, probably staying with Ganassi and being at Trackhouse. To be honest with you.
Oh
yeah.
He would have done great in that 42. And that was
But I
that.
mean-
And now, I mean, don't get us wrong. I mean, we've all been that. Will, you've been there when you've been in that race, and you've even been on, online, this and that. And granted, we sometimes think that people aren't listening, but people do listen.
Oh, all the time. I mean, it's like, you know, all the time, especially being in NASCAR, you know, it's like, you know, you can't use anything that's not on their list, because if not, it's a $10,000 fine and 2 types of rehab. So you can't do anything if it's not on their list. I mean, look, for a good example, look at Jeremy Mayfield.
Yeah.
Nobody knows if he actually was using meth or not, but everybody knows he had a prescription for Adderall. Well, when you look at it, Adderall,
that's going to test positive for methamphetamine damage.
So you have that. So I mean, he got completely axed because of that whole deal.
Yep.
You know, anybody, if you're not PC, nobody wants to deal with you, because that is just the world we live in. If we like it or not, NASCAR has to still, no matter what NASCAR is. Yes, it used to be, you know, it started from bootleg and moonshine during Prohibition and all that.
It's
But
not like that anymore.
At the end of the day, they still have sponsors to appeal to. They still have to make money to make it worth their while. It's the same with us.
Yep.
If we're not making money, then how can you pay your employees to make this happen?
Exactly.
So at the end of the day, you still have to appease to the people that pay your bills, no matter if you want to or not. So like, you know, here at the shop, we may be cussing at each other and, you know, or,
Choking
going
each other
from,
out or whatever.
yeah, from doing that, because, you know, we're all around each other all the time, to, you know, saying some of the nastiest jokes you can think of,
because you're around each other all the time.
to being at the track, and we have to act like we're the most professional people there is, you know. And like, you know, we can't, you know, go out and we go out and party, don't get me wrong, but we can't go out and make an ass of ourselves, because all it takes is one picture,
no matter how you look at it.
is one picture of you in your CMR shirt or your SIAP shirt or your RSS racing shirt, and next thing you know, sponsors like, I don't like that, either fire them or we're out, or no, we don't want to deal with that. If you allow that, we're gone.
That when we do it online either, because we still have to, even because people see this all over the place.
Mhm.
You know, whether they follow or not, this, that. I mean, you can be recognized out of anywhere saying, "Hey, I actually follow you guys." You know, this, that. So you still have to keep the professional.
And exactly. So like, for example, in iRacing, when I run my Xfinity car, I run our paint schemes, because the guy that makes our designs is on iRacing and he uploads them. So every time I run an what is it?
Ryan Daly.
Yeah, he uploads
I know
all the
Ryan Daly
schemes and all
very
that.
well. I know
Yeah,
Ryan Daly very well.
So he uploads all the schemes. So
Yeah.
I run them just because I work for him and I like the schemes. So I run them. So say
That's
if I'm on
funny.
iRacing and I yell something, you know, something vulgar or something like that, and somebody hears it, and it's like somehow it gets to CMR or SIAPs or, you know, this vodka company or whatever.
That's very well, because of I actually did an interview with Ryan.
So, you know, it's, if any of that gets caught, then it comes back to me, even though I'm on a video game on my own time. And
Still
it makes it
safe,
even
man.
worse
You're
because I
still
live in the
held
shop.
accountable. Still held accountable, brother.
So
And it's twice as bad with me living here because I'm still on work property at the same time, so it makes it twice as bad.
so
on that note,
funny you mentioned that. I'm sorry, Mike, but
no, go ahead, buddy.
no. So with YouTube, with the league YouTube and stuff like that, and me being doing this and driving the bus, I gotta watch what I say too.
Yep.
Because
Oh no,
it's just,
you're right. You're right, 100%, man.
It's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. Like,
But that's what we're
I hold-
we bring this to people, professionalism and a family and what we do together, like talking with like Will and stuff like that, and that's what we're all about in the end is our family, and this is a family to us, and there's whole 100 and something people that involved in this, and you know what I mean. People have been to bat for me, people have been to bat for Grant. I mean, you know what I mean.
yeah, and
So that's what it's about.
yeah, so I do want to give a quick shout out, and I gotta
Yeah,
grab my
please.
trophy here
Yeah.
because I gotta make Jordy a little jealous here with the trophy for the Cup Series.
Dude.
Gonna leave that right there. So I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Steve Rogers of Rogers Racing Engines, who sponsors the league, does trophies every season for Busch and Cup. So thank you, Steve. We appreciate you sponsoring. We love you. Appreciate you. If anybody's looking for anyone who wants to sponsor, us, we don't ask for much, We'll definitely throw your name around and.
Just give back to the people that give back to you.
Exactly.
That's what we do.
When I was at Eldora, the announcer said that our sport is like none other sport because we give back to the people that support us more than anyone else. And racing, especially dirt racing, like when I was at Eldora with Alex and Emily, McKenna Hossie, I think is how you say her last name. She put a Facebook post out about how someone, it was a random spectator. The spectator asked, where her crew was, and she's a small team, has like one car, and that's it. She doesn't have a backup. She doesn't have nothing. And she's a 410 sprint car driver for the World of Outlaws. And she explained to him, like, I got nobody, like, I'm the only one here today because she was here for that whole weekend for the King's Royal, because there's the Thursday night race, then there's the night before, which is Friday night, and then there's Saturday, which is the King's Royal. She was there by herself Thursday and Friday. And Friday she put on a Facebook about the guy, he's like, okay, I'll help you, and he's doing all this stuff for her. He has no idea what he's doing, and she's tuning the engine. So like it's just crazy to me that no matter if you don't like somebody or anything, racing, you're just a big giant family. Regardless of if you're a spectator or a driver or a crew member, we're all gonna help each other out some way, shape, or form.
It's a family, man. That's what we preach a lot. You know that.
Yep. So with that being said,
yeah, because you got a race going.
In 24 minutes, the season opener of Wreckfest, aka the Outlaw Racing Series, starts up. It's season opener. Last season's champion Christian Soberg, not Schoberg, Soberg. He corrected me. This week. And I've been actively trying to say it the right way for him so he doesn't get upset with me.
You gotta give it to him in crowd, buddy.
So he is coming back for another season. He was recently named the VP of the Outlaw Racing Series. So because he knows Wreckfest better than anyone else I know. So we let him have at it. He will be he'll be in charge tonight. We got 5 good races, and I think we are having a derby afterwards, and then we are having a drivers meeting to go over the derby rules for when the Wreck It Up series starts, which the VP of that has been named Grant just said, "Come on, Jabe." He would be yelling at you to get it right. This VP of the Wreck It Up series, which would be CMS, Hunter. I don't know Hunter's last name, but we're just gonna say Hunter. CMS. He's in charge of that. He's putting on a little drivers meeting afterwards, so we can get in touch with everybody. Will, I want to thank you for coming on to the show, buddy. It was great having you. It's great having you race for my team as well. You represent the team really well, and I know the conversation that we had when I originally reached out to you. You were pretty surprised at that conversation. So, like I said, I just want to thank you for coming on the show and putting up with Mike and I for the last hour. So,
hey, thank you for having me. It was fun getting to talk about everything. I'd like to do it again at some point.
Oh no, anytime, man. I mean, this show's open. I mean, we focused on a lot of different things. There's a lot of different races, a lot of different this, a lot of different that. I mean, that's what this show's about. I mean, to bring us all together, and fortunately your camera didn't work, but put the names and the places and the people that we deal with every day and race with every day, and so that some of our fans that actually watch some of this, get to be part of us. So, yeah.
So, I do wanna, what was I gonna say? Oh shoot. Sorry, dude. I'm ready for Wreckfest. I'm sorry. I've been ready for Wreckfest since the season ended.
I'm ready to continue on. My birthday was Thursday. I'm ready to continue on with my, till Sunday.
Okay, so correction. CMS, which his last name is Cordray. I think it's how I say his last name. Cordray. Cordray. Cordray.
Don't ask me, dude. I can't even draw the name.
So, he's calling it the Thunder Valley Derby Series. That's what he's going with. So
sounds
like a great time to meet. It sounds like a great time to drink beer if you really think about it.
Checkers and records at that point.
Checkers and records is what Wreckfest is about. The last 3 weeks were probably the best because we had an average of 4 cars finishing. So,
wow.
Yeah. With that being said, we are gonna wrap this up. Will, thanks again for coming. We'll definitely have you back on here. Maybe and I know that we talked about maybe you coming up to this area to hang out for a weekend. Maybe after the season ends, maybe we'll have to get you up here after the Xfinity schedule's done.
Yeah, well, if you guys really do it right, you can travel another like 4.5 hours. You'll be at my house.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to get Keith to come 3.5 to come see me, and he won't do it. So,
wow.
Yeah. So it's a challenge, but Will, thanks again for hopping on here, man. I know the Parkhurst brothers, they want to get on the show one of these times.
Yep.
I know, and
we get more drivers from the league on.
Yep.
Yeah.
Will, I want Sieg. I want Sieg on the show.
I will do what I can to get with him and see what I can do.
See, and I know you guys are gonna it's gonna be hard with your with the schedule because you don't have another off week until the end of the season.
No, and I mean with us, just getting in the playoffs, everybody is on edge right now. Trying to get what we need to do done, and get this thing in gear, and really focus on what we're doing to make it into the round of 8. That's the goal, right? We're gonna make it right now. I believe the goal is focus on getting to the round of 8, and once we're in the round of 8, focus on making it to the final 4.
Exactly. You got it, buddy. That's what it takes. One race, one lap, one position at a time, man.
Yeah, so I do want to say thanks again, Will. Appreciate it, buddy.
Yep.
It was joyous having you on here, Mike. Great show too. Little bit of technical difficulties with my flag back there, not wanting to stay up on the wall.
I want to say, dude, what's up with that? It's like half folded.
I don't know. It came off.
I told you to lick it, stick it up there, and you didn't want to do it.
Listen, I was using double-sided tape, but I went and bought
Gorilla Tape.
I went and bought garment holders, like garment hooks, and I've used them.
Dude, those are for clothes, not flags.
Well, What am I? I don't want to drill into a brick wall holding my house up.
Oh, come on, man. What are you talking about, dude?
So, but with that being said, we're gonna cut it off here so we can get the drivers ready. 18 minutes
to
till
it, buddy.
showtime. We'll be back live on the YouTube with my POV of Wreckfest tonight. Next Thursday night we will have the F1 Season 5. That's right, Season 5 opener of Wreckfest. We will be at Bahrain International. The defending series champion, Sammy Haskew, will try to put his title back up. Try to defend his title as world champion. So running for my team, Fatal Motorsports, aka the Red Bull Cars, with Connor. I'm gonna mess up his last name too, M. So then, other than that, then we have Grand Theft Auto starting up the week after. Triple S is back for its 5th season as well.
That's right. Drive it like you stole it.
Jarrett Reese going to try to defend his title once again here in the WRL. He is a many time champion in the Triple S series. Next, and we got Gran Turismo tomorrow night. I do not remember what cars we are in. I don't remember. And then we got probably my favorite night of the season. I circled it when the season started. The doubleheader at Bristol for the trucks.
Bristol. Well,
I am
my God. Here we
so
go.
ready. Two 25% races, man, off of my win at Sonoma. I'm ready to go. I'm excited. It's going to be a tough day. So, with that being said, we're going to cut it off again.
Yep.
Good
night, everybody. All of us at WRL, me, Jade, Will, thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate everything, and God bless everybody, and stay tuned because week's just starting.
Week is just starting, and we'll be back. I don't know if I will be here next Saturday night. I do have something going on with some family. We'll see what time that wraps up. I could be here, maybe start the show a little later. We'll see what happens.
And if you don't show, it's because he's kidnapped, and I can't get him awake in time.
Yeah, pretty much. It happens.
Yeah.
So
I will chloroform you.
Yeah. So with that being said, thanks everyone for tuning in, watching the show tonight. William Moore, again, works for Ryan Seed Racing. Got a little insight of what goes on in an Xfinity team. Talk about, the difference between working on an Xfinity car to come out and running one of our Busch cars, which is really just the Xfinity series. So with that being said, thanks everybody, and we will see you next week. Stay worldwide, everybody.
That's it.